Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Wednesday edition Minnesota football party. We are so close to training camp. On today's show, new PFF rankings. We'll play a guessing game, see where the Vikings land, and discuss the offensive line and secondary rankings. Also, which pending free agent can earn some serious cash with a big year for the Vikings. And we'll play roster, practice squad, cut at the end of the show, a little pre-training camp activity on a show that is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers at FanDuel can win $150 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. It's FanDuel. And we thank you for being here and streaming us, whether it's the Locked On Vikings YouTube channel, Locked On Sports Minnesota YouTube channel, or listening to us on the Locked On Vikings audio feed. We appreciate that very, very much. Let's meet today's crew and go around the horn. Julia.
Hey, guys. Julia Daniels here, KARE 11 sports reporter. Can't believe training camps are right around the corner. It snuck up on us this summer, but excited for it. Excited to see how the Vikings shake out. I'm interested to see these PFF rankings. I haven't looked yet, but we're supposed to be guessing. I'm very interested about this offensive line.
I'm Ron Johnson, former Gophers wide receiver, NFL wide receiver. Just had a chance to talk to my guy Blake Cashman yesterday. We had a really good talk about PJ Fleck, what he's doing. But in that locker room for the Minnesota Vikings, is the Big Ten taking over? We'll talk about that.
Interesting. Very good interview. Check it out. Ron Johnson show yesterday. Find that at Locked On Sports Minnesota. And once again, I'm Sam Ekstrom. Let's do the guessing game. Pro Football Focus has ranked all the position groups. We've been discussing this throughout the offseason. Let's start with offensive line. Vikings bolster that line, drafting Donovan Jackson, signing Ryan Kelly, letting go of Garrett Bradbury. They sign Will Fries, huge contract, totally revamped. Julia, where do you think PFF puts the Vikings?
I'm going to go vague-ish here and say I definitely think they're in the top half of the league. I would go so far as to say that just because the Vikings have kind of put themselves on the map here recently, I would say they're in the top 10. I would
top
argue.
10. Do you want to nail a number down? You want to guess a number?
8 or 9. I want to say 8 or 9.
Okay. Ron?
That's my guess.
So
Ron,
PFF ranked the Vikings 1 through 32. They're haters. I'm going to probably go with like 16. Maybe 14. I'll say 14. I'll say 14.
Okay. Julia goes 8 or 9. She kind of cheated. Kind of cast a wider net. Ron goes 14. Julia, closer to the pin. 7. 7.
Oh, wow. They do have the faith.
Ron, you can't call them haters anymore. PFF has totally redeemed itself. I think this is a good offensive line. And I think that they get a lot of credence for having the tackles that they do. I know Christian Darrisaw is going to miss probably some time with that knee recovery. But having tackles that are stalwarts, that are established forces in the league, and then improving all three spots. Like I know that Donovan Jackson, Julia, is a question mark at this point. We don't know how he'll be as a pro, but in theory, you've upgraded every single offensive line spot. I think top 10. You had to put him in the top 10 based on what their potential now is.
Yeah, I think you have to just look at the depth too. I mean, and I think also if you're looking at the comparison to last year as well, just the difference that there is. I do think obviously this was a point of emphasis, not only just to protect their quarterback, but also to establish a run game. So there's been a lot of factors that went into motivating the offseason pickups that they made. So, I mean, I do find it interesting that they're number 7 just because we haven't seen the unit together yet. But I do think that it says something that PFF has the faith that they have in them at 7, because it's not like necessarily a healthy offensive line yet. Like you can't say that they're the healthiest offensive line that there is, but I think obviously they picked up a lot of talent, a lot of veteran talent. So I guess, I'm surprised that they're number 7. I didn't think that PFF, I agree with Ron, they're usually kind of haters of the Vikings, or they forget that the Vikings exist. That's another part of PFF too. So yeah, I guess 7 pretty solid. I guess the bar has been set pretty high for this offensive line. We'll see how it plays out. I got faith. I got confidence. But again, it's one of those things where, we'll wait till training camp to see what they look like altogether.
Yeah, the health that you touched on is certainly a concern because Darisaw, we don't know when he's going to do live collision activities. He might be on the field doing individual drills. We don't know how long it's going to be till he's doing real football things. Will Fries is still in recovery mode. So we might not get those 5 together until October, so they are going to have to mesh quickly. They're going to have to figure it out with some moving parts early on. Ron, let me ask you this. Of the 3 upgrades, Jackson taking Brandel's spot, we think. Mm-hmm. Kelly taking Bradbury's spot. And then Fries taking Reisner's spot. Which of the 3 do you think is the biggest upgrade?
I got to, you know what? I'm going to go Donovan Jackson. Like that, I've been riding that train from the start. I picked him to be the draft pick. Like nobody else really picked him. Even when we did the Vikings pregame show at the stadium for the Minnesota Vikings and for the network, nobody picked Donovan Jackson. And so I was on that. I tweeted it well before the draft. So I'm going to stick with it. I think Donovan Jackson, the reason being is because, again, if you look at what Kevin O'Connell wants to do in running the ball, he bought in Jordan Mason. He wants to run the ball, but he also wants to run screens because if you can run a good screen game, you cannot get after the quarterback as fast as you think because every time you think you have them, nope, that's a screen behind you, or nope, that's a fake screen. Now that's a pass. So you need a mobile guard like a Donovan Jackson. I think he has the same want to get out into the flat like Reisner. We saw Reisner was super excited to get out there and mow people down, but just younger, stronger, comes from a pedigree of champion and also team first guy. Like willing to play tackle if he has to, play guard and tackle at Ohio State. So I'll say I'll go with that one. And the only reason is because of the stuff I've heard about Fries and Kelly, more so Kelly. And I told you about that, Sam, when I talked to, some coaches from the Colts. But again, that's their situation. You're not winning. So I think it's less maybe about what they thought it was and more about like, we're not even winning these games. Why am I going to risk my health to be out there for you? And we don't even know who our quarterback is. We have no idea what our system's supposed to be right now. So I'll go back to that. But Fries being hurt, like we don't know what that's going to look like. So I'd say it's between Kelly and Donovan Jackson, and I'm gonna go with the young guy in Jackson.
Old Man Time chimes in the chat. If the offense runs the ball over 48% of the time, highly specific, they make it to the Super Bowl. Last year, I checked, they ran it 43.4% of plays. So they gotta up those numbers to get to 48%. Old Man Time. But hey, if this offensive line can run block better than any other Kevin O'Connell offensive line, I think that's actually kind of realistic, especially with a rookie quarterback you want to protect. I think that's actually not outlandish. Let's go to the secondary. Maybe my title of the show gives it away. This is not a high ranking. Julia, why don't you take a stab at this one? Where'd PFF have the Vikings secondary? So this would be safeties. This would be cornerbacks.
Out of 32? I'm going to go 27.
27. All right. Ron?
22.
Oh, Julia woke up with precision today.
Wow.
27 is the exact
really?
answer. And she claims she didn't look, people.
I didn't look.
She's an honest panelist on this show. She would never undermine the bit. This is what they write. Quote, this is an aging secondary that benefits from a defensive scheme designed to pressure opposing quarterbacks. Harrison Smith still plays quality football, though his prime years are behind him. Josh Metellus is an average safety, but reliable against the run. Cornerback Byron Murphy's coming off a career year, but it's unclear whether he's finally hitting his stride or if it was a one-year spike in performance. Vikings added several defensive backs in free agency, Isaiah Rodgers, Tavier Thomas, and Jeff Okudah, but they will likely need the front seven to continue generating heavy pressure for the secondary to succeed. So the haters are back, Ron.
There they go.
Yep, there it is. Harrison Smith, he's past his prime. Josh Metellus, average. Byron Murphy, 1 year blip, anomaly. Really, the three best players in the secondary, they've found a reason to down. Ron?
Oh, I froze or you froze for a second.
Back.
Sorry. So no, but going off of that, what they say about the DBs, it had like a little weird blip. Going off the DBs, it comes down to Harrison Smith. I think when you look across the board, they don't have a guy like a Sauce Gardner. Congrats to Sauce, just got paid, by the way. My guy, Detroit, Michigan, Martin Luther King High School. Shout out to all the millions. Make sure you take care of the school. But when it comes down to that, that's what they're looking at. Like they don't have a, I go back to the Darrelle Revis days. He was the reason why they got ranked high. The Xavier Rhodes, under Zimmer, they were the reason, him and Harrison Smith though. But, when you can have a lockdown corner that everybody fears or everybody talks about, they're going to give you credit. You talk about Patrick Surtain, you talk about, Jalen Ramsey, wherever he went early on in his career. That's where the Minnesota Vikings are lacking. I think that's part of it. I think Byron Murphy is a good cornerback. I don't think they consider him like prime Deion Sanders or anything like that, or one of the greatest to ever do it. So that's going to always knock them down. The other side of the cornerbacks, we keep saying, who is it going to be? Who's going to be the other guy? And it's not a clear-cut favorite right now. And then you're right. Harrison Smith is getting old. So is one of these other safeties going to take it over for him? Or, is this going to be one of those deep ball seasons that we're like, oh, I can't believe they let that one go again. So I understand it. I think 27 is too low, though. Like, you got to look at the rest of these teams, and because the DBs, yes, if you're just going straight DBs, no offensive line, no defensive line, no defensive line, no linebackers, fine. But that's part of the DB bit. Like, how long does the quarterback have to throw? Like, I don't care how good your corners are. If the quarterback has 7 seconds, they're still going to complete the pass at some point. So, but I get it. They gotta write their article and they gotta get it out there, and we gotta debate it. We'll see at the end of the season when you talk about pass yards given up, which still comes down to the defensive line too, though. But pass yards given up, interceptions, and turnovers, we'll see where the Vikings land.
Yeah, Julia, I think that if you told me 27th, maybe I could get on board. But the argument they make, I think, is the wrong argument. I think they're trying to diminish the guys that are actually legit when there's actually some real question marks here. So we talked about upgrading the offensive line. Well, the secondary goes from Cam Bynum, Stephon Gilmore, Shaq Griffin. They go from Bynum to Theo Jackson. Theo's a question mark. They go from Stephon Gilmore to Isaiah Rodgers. He's kind of stepping into a bigger role. And then, Shaq Griffin, they go to probably Mekhi Blackman. Like, we don't really know who that third corner is going to be. So I think that the down, if you call them downgrades in that area, that's probably the bigger concern for me, is that you're handing the keys over to several guys who are much less established than Gilmore, Bynum, and Griffin.
Yeah, I think, Mekhi, obviously, we've only seen him in his rookie season, and I think they were putting a lot of eggs in Mekhi's basket last season before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. And so he's this huge, like, what are we going to get out of this guy? What are we going to see? He's not very big, which, he's a corner, so it's not that big of a deal, right? But also Theo Jackson. Theo had his shining moments last year once or twice, and that was kind of all that anybody saw out of him to really base anything off of anything. So it is just like a big, I think that's the main thing, is like, especially we've talked about this when it comes to PFF. It's like, how much research are they actually doing on these articles, or are they just doing it like, because this is what gets them clickbait? And how much do you think that the PFF people know about Theo Jackson, Dwight McGlothern, or Mekhi Blackman? How much research can they do? Because we don't even know. And we're the ones that are covering this team primarily. So I think, I think it just has to do with like the unknown of the entire situation. And also like something that would maybe go into me making the judgment that I make is I have seen Brian Flores come in, and then it took a while for guys to figure out like what was going on and how the defense worked. And so you bring in a lot of new guys, and then you start to wonder, like, how long is it going to take them to pick up what he's putting down? And so I think there's just like so much unknown when it comes to this. I mean, who knows? We could be pleasantly surprised by a cat jumping into my screen.
Pleasant surprise there, Bo. Hello.
Pleasant
Welcome to the
surprise
show.
there, buddy.
His weekly appearance.
So I think it's just so much unknown by guys that we just haven't seen in the league a lot. And so that's why they're ranked where they are.
Yeah. Ron, I think the Vikings secondary was woefully underrated last year. Here's why. Teams threw the most pass attempts against the Vikings of any team in the league. The Vikings allowed the most pass attempts. So that's not their fault. It means they were winning a lot. The Vikings were leading most of the time by a lot. So teams threw it 637 times against them last year. So, of course, the yardage the Vikings gave up was going to be high. They were playing a lot of prevent. There was a lot of garbage time, giving up cheap yards to Jordan Love in the Packers game a couple times. Yards per attempt given up through the year last year. Vikings were 12th best. They also had 24 interceptions. So, Ron, if you're a quarterbacks last year against the Vikings threw 24 touchdowns and 24 interceptions. If that was your quarterback, you would say, what a terrible year. That's a horrible season. I think the Vikings didn't get enough credit last year in their secondary. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's what I said. I mean, I'm like, you look at the amount of turnovers they created. Granted, it is a different defensive backfield now. Maybe they were giving Stephon Gilmore more credit, and what's his name, Shaq Griffin. So, I think that's part of it. Like these Isaiah Rodgers, Jeff Okudah, Ambry Thomas are three unknowns. Like you don't know what you're going to get out of them. And so I do understand it. I just think 27 is too low. Like I think Byron Murphy being a Pro Bowler, I think Harrison Smith, Josh Metellus, what they bring to the table. Theo Jackson's a new piece of the puzzle. I still just think that's too low. I really do. But again, I think up to, besides Jeff Okudah, but I mean, between Jeff Okudah, Isaiah Rodgers, and Ambry Thomas, one of the three is going to step up, or two out of the three is going to step up and get that, that 1 and 2 spot next to him. Mekhi Blackmon, again, another questionable player that's not going to probably start out right away. It's just a lot of unknowns with this defensive backfield, and that's what they're going with. But at the end of the day, quarterbacks are getting rid of the ball quicker because of the rush. Maybe they're just giving way more credit to the defensive rush overall than the defensive backfield. I think that's another part of that. Like, you got Jonathan Gennard, you got Van Ginkel. Those are the things that, I think are going to be a part of it. Because Jonathan Gennard is a big piece of the attitude of the defense and the pettiness of the defense and the, let's make this his life a living heck part of the defense. And so when you have that, now you add a guy, Jonathan Allen, who wants to, be super aggressive and has that mentality, that dog mentality as well. Javon Hargrave has it, I've heard. So I think PFF's it's not about the rush. It's about the defensive backs, and they're looking at the exit and the entrance. And the entrance of those three, in their mind, Jeff Okudah has a bad name out there right now. Like he went to the Lions, didn't do well. Went on and didn't do well with the Falcons. So I think a lot of people just don't know, like, is he the same guy he was at Ohio State, or what are we going to get? So I think that's the question mark.
I'm excited to see how it plays out for sure. Well said on that front, Ron. When we return, I'm going to give you 5 names of pending free agents for the Vikings. And I ask, who makes the most money based on their performance this year? That's next, Minnesota Football Party. And FanDuel is today's partner that brings us today's show. Summer sports in full swing. Home Run Derby. A lot of fun Monday night. And then we had another bonus one last night after the All-Star game. That was pretty fun as well. But we got WNBA approaching its All-Star break, high-stakes soccer action, and my personal favorite, the Open Championship this weekend. Love betting on golf. Love trying to find the value bet. Bet some top fives. Maybe winning the first round. Rory McIlroy, his home tournament. I think you got to put the money on Rory. But there's great daily promotions at FanDuel now. You can track your favorite matchups. The app keeps it super fresh, offering a lot of fun ways to bet. Same game parlays, live wagering options, all in play. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5, get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Open FanDuel today on the app, FanDuel Sportsbook app, or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, as we roll on for the video viewers, Ron, the T-shirt. I mean, I love the T-shirt game. By the way, once again, we got Olaf from Frozen floating. I think he's probably singing a musical number.
Yeah,
Who got you that? Just chilling. I like it.
I've had it, but we went to see Frozen the play at the Minnesota Children's Theater, and so it was just and they did a different spin on it. It had like a really different spin. You got the same gist of the message, Anna and Elsa being young and then taking over the castle and so on and so forth, but they just put a different spin on some of the songs and some of the little bar scenes and all the other stuff. So no, I woke up today and I'm like, you know what? I'm chilling today. I don't have much to do today. I got a couple like meetings because yesterday was packed with meetings. I had the show, then I had to run home for Blake Cashman. I mean, I had the meeting at Mount West Tonka High School. I was at Kennedy High School. Today I'm like, I'm gonna chill a little bit, and then of course, we just got all of our Gopher stuff with our emails of like, hey, welcome to, whatever media, blah, blah, blah. You're welcome into any stadium you want now. So now that kind of the realization too, that State Fair is not too far around the corner.
It's coming fast. Oh my goodness. Yeah, July 16th. July is more than half.
That.
Unbelievable.
When is the State Fair?
Yeah, probably August. Usually it's like the 23rd of August.
I got the date of the show we're doing at the State Fair. So, I mean, I'm guessing it's got to be either because we usually do the first.
Yeah, August 22nd.
The first, yeah, I was going to say, we usually do the first day. I got the email in there somewhere. I was looking at it last night. And then
August 21st through Labor Day, September 1st.
August 20. So we got
August 21st is the first
36 days till the fair. We got 24 days till a Vikings game. We got 7 days till a Vikings camp practice. It's happening. It's all coming at us fast. We're freaking out.
Time of the year.
We're freaking out.
We do a show, so we're waiting on PJ to tell us what day he's taking the team to the State Fair, because then that's when we do our show. So that's going to be – and this year, Sam, I do have all the necessary stuff. So I figured it out to be able to have 2 microphones. So I'm going to try to make sure I grab like a player or two and do some State Fair stuff. Hopefully last year it rained. That's what killed me. I had it set up and then it started raining. I'm like, I'm not about to sit out here in the rain and interview these people.
Perks of Monday, Tuesday off is that I get to go on a Monday or Tuesday, which is the least busy thing.
Yeah. We have to go on like that first Thursday, which is the worst day. And I'm guessing Fleck will do the same because then they play that Friday or the next week, that Friday or whatever, or Thursday, I think. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, week 1.
We got Gopher football coming up.
Yeah, April, 8/28. Yeah, it does say, actually, it says it on here. We'll be doing a show from outside the stadium on 8/28. Thank God, because last time we did the show from the freaking State Fair for the pregame show. I'm like, why are we at this pregame show at the State Fair? Like, everybody's at the game. Like, what are we doing? So this year, thank goodness, they're putting us back at the stadium, regardless of the State Fair. Thank you.
How great would it have been last year, Ron, for that North Carolina game if Belichick was the coach? I mean, don't you wish it had been 1 year?
No, that would have been.
Man,
that would have been a lot of great interviews. I wonder,
amazing.
was he dating her?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was last year.
A year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think he was. Yeah. He wasn't even on the radar.
He's been dating her for years.
He was just chilling. Yeah. He was like bringing her to the hotel before Patriot games. But I'm gonna give you 5 names here. These aren't all the free agents, but these are the ones that I think have a chance, like maybe an outside chance to perform well enough to make some cash in the free agency next spring. I think the biggest one with an asterisk is probably Josh Metellus, because I think a deal still could get done. I think he wants that. I think the Vikings want that. He's part of their core. But Metellus is still technically a free agent. Also going to toss out Jalen Naylor, Rondale Moore, a couple receivers, Jeff Okudah, who we've discussed, could play a lot at corner, and Ty Chandler, RB3. Don't know how much playing time he'll get. Which of those players do you think could make the most money based on what they do in 2025? Ron?
So I think Ivan Pace could get an extension. That's the one that's not even on there.
And he's he's restricted free agent. That's a good point. Right. He's a which means they can kind of get him back if they want. With not
not too
contract.
Expensive, but not cheap. I feel like he has a chance to make some money for the Vikings because, I mean, other than unless Kobe King goes out there and kill it, and make sure you guys go check out that interview. I specifically asked Blake Cashman as well because that's Kobe King is Blake Cashman's backup right now. So I kind of asked him what do you see right away? And he kind of explained it. And I'm like, if Kobe King, I just don't see Kobe King stepping up in that Ivan Pace role. But he did say if Eric Wilson's on the field, Kobe King might be on the field. If Blake's on the field, Kobe King could be on the field. If Ivan Pace is on the field, Kobe King, so it sounds like Kobe King is like the do-it-all backer. He can go to the Will, he can go to the Mike, he can go to the Mo, which is great to hear because we did see him standing up. So where does that do with Ivan Pace? Does Ivan Pace do enough for them to say, let's give Ivan Pace money? Or, hey, we got Kobe King. We don't need to pay you as much as you think we need to pay you. And they kind of, let him check out the market as well. But of the guys you listed, the easy one for me is Josh Metellus. I think Josh Metellus can earn himself a lot of money. With the departure of Cam Bynum, Josh Metellus is a safety. Question being now, is he going to be a true deep cover 2 safety that comes into the box every once in a while, kind of like Troy Polamalu, can stay in the back half, can play deep, but he can still walk up in the box. That's what I'm wondering if he can pull it off and do. If he can, he's going to make himself a lot of money. If he continues to be just a true rover, he'll make some money with teams that like that positional guy, mainly probably the Vikings right now, but I don't know how many teams run a 3 safety defense where they don't need their safeties to be back a lot. And Josh Metellus hasn't been back a lot, like for a full game. And I think this is his year to show everybody he is a true safety. I mean, Theo Jackson's still going to come in and let him do what he does, but can he be that second? Can he be Cam Bynum? Because Cam Bynum was the reason Josh Metellus didn't get to go back. It is what it is. And so can Cam Bynum, and the reason, can Josh Metellus, and the reason is because if Harrison Smith retires, then there's Josh Metellus and Theo Jackson. Or is it they're going to go into the draft and go get a guy? So I think this is his year to kind of show I deserve that money. Let Harrison Smith walk. Pay me.
I tend to think that they've got to get that extension done, Ron, before the season, or else, if he doesn't sign it before the season finishes up and then suddenly he's staring at free agency, that right. You could lose him. I think you got to get it done if you want to keep him around right now.
Well, I don't think he'll do the Hawkinson thing, though. So he seems like a guy that'll still show up in practice and they can get it done, during training camp, maybe during, you can do it all season. You can do it week 2, Like I think Rob Brzezinski's probably saying, hey, let us get through OTAs. Let us get through mini camp. Let us get through training camp. Let us see what we have in these rookies so we know what we have on this roster. And then, okay, let's talk about what you want, at least to get you one more year maybe, or, let's get you a guaranteed 1 or 2 years. But, I don't think he's going to pull a TJ Hawkinson because I don't think he has the leverage to do that either.
No. Ear infections are very prevalent this time of year, Ron. You know that. It's an ear infection.
My toe hurts.
Yep.
I got a bad toe.
Julia, who you got on the list? Who's going to make money?
I mean, Josh Metellus is the obvious choice, and I agree. I don't think he's one to sit out because A, he doesn't have the leverage, and B, he's just not. He just loves his leadership role on the team. Like he embraces it more than I think anybody else does in the whole locker room. So I think also the Vikings know what they call him, the Swiss Army knife. They know how valuable he is. I'm interested to see how his role changes this year, especially without Cam there. But I also think that they know how valuable he is to the culture that they build. And I know that's like such a buzzword that we always hear them using all the time, the culture that we want to build. But I think he is crucial to, building team chemistry. I'm sure there's some guys on the team that like hate what he does. That's just as expected. That's how professional sports go. They're like, oh, this guy again, yelling, giving his hype speech. But I do think that the Vikings value Josh Metellus. And I think that the cards are definitely or the stars are aligning in a way that could get him paid this season. Another one, I also think Jalen Naylor has an opportunity here. I'm anxious to see how it pans out. Obviously, the addition of Ty Felton, but I think Jalen Naylor saw the strides that he took last year, and then he came back and we saw him at OTAs, and we were like, who's this guy? He's bulked up. I mean, not in a bad way, but he's like bulked up where he's got way more muscle on him than he had when the season ended last year. And so I think he's definitely made some off-season changes, really, really trying to put himself in a position where he can make some more money and move himself up the totem pole. And so I'm interested to see how Speedy's season pans out. I think the the addition of Ty Felton probably lit a little fire under him too. I think he already had it because of the way that he was able to take advantage of opportunities last season. And that's also the perk of, being in a wide receiver room with Justin Jefferson, is that the guy gets double and triple teams. So you got to go to somebody that maybe people aren't looking out for, which is Jalen Naylor. And so I think this season he has opportunity now that my cat's running around doing some crazy stuff behind me. He's got some opportunity to expand on what he started last season. And so I think it'll be interesting to see where he ends up after this year.
Wide receiver contracts have jumped the shark in a lot of ways, and cornerback contracts too, like with the Sauce Gardner contract, over $30 million a year. But yesterday, when I read the article about Juwan Jennings wanting to maybe get traded, I was looking at his resume, and he's got one big year. He had one good year last year, and a lot of receivers that have just one big year in their rookie contract, they get paid like $12 million a year. That could happen if the circumstances play out where Addison misses some time, Naylor has a big year, gets like 800 yards, Naylor could get paid $12 million a year by someone. And I look at cornerback too. Cornerback contracts are going up and up and up. If Jeff Okudah wins that job, if he beats out Mekhi Blackmon, if he plays effectively this year, I think there's enough teams that still probably have their college evaluation on him, first round pick, top 5 talent. They would probably pay a guy like Jeff Okudah if he proved it for a full year and pay him $10 million or something like that. So I'm looking at Okudah, I'm looking at Naylor, and of course looking at Metellus. I think he gets paid before the season. I think the Vikings are just committed to locking down their core members, and there's no one who does what Metellus does on this team or in this league. He's so unique. But good answers all around on that. When we return, I pose the question, what's more important to coaches, the practices in training camp or the preseason games? We're always having that debate, and we'll debate it next after a very short pause. This is a good question for Ron Johnson, because Ron, you've been on NFL coaching staff, you've been in the game, you kind of understand this dynamic as well as anybody. So if you're a coach, let's say you're Keenan McCardell, and you're evaluating your room, trying to figure out who should make the squad, how are you weighing what you see in practice out there and what you see on the field in the 3 games?
So it is tough. So like I had Pierre Garçon, Reggie Wayne, Roy Hall, Gonzalez, and Marvin Harrison. And so when you think about those, you know what you're going to get. So it's kind of easy to evaluate the guys and that's where it starts. And that's the tough thing about new guys coming in, is you got to, like, the reason the Bears ended up cutting Bobby Wade and kept me is because I did a lot of stuff. I dove for balls. I was like jumping over the top of guys. I was doing stuff you probably shouldn't do when you're not padded, because you can get hurt. But I was like, I gotta show these guys, like, I'm not the same guy I was last year coming off injury. And so I was diving for balls, and I mean, no shoulder pads, no nothing. I'm diving, and guys are like, man, this dude, and so it worked. And so when you look at these guys, if you start, and we're starting with cornerbacks, right? Is that where we're starting?
No, I mean, really, just talk about
just how you do it.
Like,
so if you look at
mentality.
So if I'm Keenan McCardell looking at the receivers, for instance, you got to look at the guys So you got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, I guess you would say. And then from there, your draft pick does take, like, Pierre Garçon, even though he came from Mount Union, was drafted. So that was kind of like he was on our whiteboard. He was a little bit higher. And then from there, you just move the pieces and you kind of say, okay, this guy had 6 catches today in practice. This guy hasn't had a mistake. And then honestly, it's the games. When you get to the games, the preseason games, those are going to matter the most for those bubble guys. And that's how I watch preseason. I kind of watch the back end bubble guys, who has the most catches. Because you guys remember when Jalen Naylor was killing it, we're like, oh, he's good to go. When what's his name, Tristan Jackson was killing it, we're like, yeah, they're probably going to keep him. And so that's how it goes too, is the games. How do you do against the earliest part of the game? Not the fourth quarter when most of the DBs out there aren't going to make the team. It's when you get in the second quarter and they still have the 2s out there. How do you handle it? And I think that's the other part of this. That's how coaches look at it. because practice is tough, but you can you can make some plays, some one-handed catches, not making errors, blocking, knowing where you're supposed to be, willing to do everything too. Like I'll do every special teams, I'll be at all the meetings. All of that matters because again, Keenan McCardell, for instance, just using him, he has probably 4 guys, and they're like, "Look, what's your 4? Here's your 4, all right." And then they're gonna go to Coach Hatt, special teams coach, and say, who do you want from there? Who do you want? And then he's gonna say, okay, here's my 11 special teams guys that I need, and some of them might already be on some coaches list, and then they're gonna look at the other one and say, okay, well, this is between these 2 receivers, coach, which one do you want? And then he'll kind of say, so it comes down to that. It comes down to intangibles. Like what extra do they do? What do they give the special teams coach? Because you only get 53 guys.
Yeah, Julia, there's very much an intangible about handling pressure. So if you're a bubble guy on the roster, you get very limited opportunities to prove yourself in a real game setting. And I always think that the games should matter a lot. Like let's look at your job. If you nailed every single rehearsal, but then 10:25 comes around and you melted down with the cameras on going live, I feel like the bosses wouldn't say, well, she did well in rehearsal at least. And that's how I feel about these roster spots and these competitions. Like you really need to turn it on when the lights are on to prove that you can handle that pressure, that you know how to translate from a practice setting to a game setting. And there's just a lot of different stuff that happens in games than in practices. Like, I don't know, tackling. Tackling doesn't happen in practice. It happens in the game. And that's a pretty important part of football. So I'm a big advocate for like putting a lot of weight on these games. Where do you stand on that?
No, I 100% agree. I think it's exactly like you said. Sure, you can do it in practice, but how do you play in a game? And some guys, they need that pressure in a game to really kind of come out of. I mean, if you think about it, training camp is like such a, especially for these guys the rookies that have never been before. Did Ivan Pace really stick out to us until the preseason games? No, he wasn't somebody that we're like, oh, this guy, because you can't really pick up on it. You can see practices, like obviously you can see for nailing down whatever they're asking you to do. And then also to see how you measure up against the guys that they have already had. Right. And that's where you kind of get that direct comparison. But I 100% agree with both of you guys in that, like, you ask, I mean, because I've been doing this how many years now, where you get done with the first preseason game and you get to ask these guys that have never played before, like what the experience is like. And it's totally different than anything they've ever been a part of before. And so it's just like this unknown for everybody that's not been there before, to kind of see how they pan out, how they work. And you're right. It's the highest intensity situation that they can be a part of before the season starts. And so it is their trial run to see what a game is like, because also everything's going much faster than it did in practice too. Like you can do your 2-minute drills, but until you're in a game and it's go, go, go the whole time, like how do you know how guys are going to handle it? How do you know that their brain's going to work in a way that they can respond as quickly as they have to in a game? Because you just can't simulate that in any other setting, especially when it comes to the NFL. Like college, I know they really try to do that and nail that down before the season starts. They don't get preseason games, but I think that the games are crucial to like figuring out like who's really standing out here. I mean, and then think back to last year too, just like JJ McCarthy in his game that he played, and we were surprised at the way that he bounced back after throwing an interception, and that was like huge for us to see him do that and to see how he performed in that setting and how he responded to adversity. And it's something that you can't emulate anywhere else. And so, yeah, I'd say the games are the most important.
Ron, we like to put together our 53-man roster projections. Mm-hmm. Do you think coaching staffs have their own internally, and then they kind of, they'll shift guys around and they'll say, well, okay, he lost his spot, we're going to replace him. Do they have just a baseline 53-man that they're working off of? Do you think that's a thing?
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, I don't know how they do it now, but when I was there, and even when I was with the Ravens, it's a whiteboard. And so it's a whiteboard with magnets. Now, again, that's old school. I'm guessing they probably have some type of I forgot what kids use now in school, but the smart boards, they probably have some kind of smart board or something where they can digitally do it. But yeah, I mean, there's usually some type of each coach has their list. So Keenan McCardell, and I've asked Keenan this, like Keenan McCardell said, yep, I got my ones, I got my twos, I got my threes. And he literally said, man, after I'm done with these guys, there's going to be some teams when they watch our film, they're going to get some really good players. So Keenan knows he's got some guys that he wish he can keep that he just won't be able to because of numbers. And so each coach has that, and then each coach plugs their thing, so it's not like Kevin O'Connell has one. Kevin O'Connell is just the general manager of all the coaches. He, my guess is the quarterbacks too, though. But, they all have to come into his room or wherever it is and, put their ones, their twos, their threes up on the board. And then from there, that's how they start building the roster. And my guess is they go 1 and 2 deep for offense and defense. I kind of talked to you about this, Sam. And it's 47 guys. After the 47, you got your 3 special teams guys. That's 50. And then there's 3 bubble guys. So I'm guessing they don't give numbers probably to 50 through 53 or 51, 52, 53, because your 3 special teams guys are going to take up a spot. And then your ones, your twos. And then, of course, like if one of the guys jumps into the twos, you take that number off him. He's okay. Do this dudes with the twos now. Like you kind of keep that active, because what you also have to do is be prepared to cut. You have to be prepared who's going to get the cut, because you don't want to bring the wrong guy into the room and cut the wrong guy by mistake. We've seen that joke on Hard Knocks before. But you don't want to do that. Like literally, you don't. I mean, I've actually really seen that before. My rookie year, me and Ed Reed got bought in at the same time. And so I was like, oh, thank God, I'm not getting cut. If Ed Reed's in here with me, he cannot cut me in front of Ed Reed. And Brian kind of like stares at us, and me and Ed are looking at each other like, man, what the heck is going on in here? And he's like, I gotta let you guys know something. And I was like, oh man, what? You're really like, nah, you're not gonna do this. And then he was like, well, you guys are good. You guys are good. He's like, I just want to make sure you guys know that, the rookies have to do this, this, and this. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, whew. I was like, man, what? Don't like just start off with that. Don't give us this. He was kind of preparing us for what's next, which is like rookies. It's not a lot of rookies left. So now like we got to kind of carry the like pads, and we got to make sure this is done and blah, blah. And, Reed was a quote unquote, he's going to be the number 1 safety as a rookie. So I think he was preparing us both for all that stuff and special teams and how the meetings were going to go moving forward, because we're only going to be like, 14, 15 guys in special teams meetings. So, yeah, but no, there is that little bit where you don't want to have like, you say, hey, coach, bring me so-and-so. He goes in there. The coach doesn't know, so he cuts the guy. And then the receivers coach, I forgot where I saw it. Maybe it was on Hard Knocks. They cut the wrong guy, and then they had to go get the guy back. Because they're like, no, we didn't mean to cut you. We meant to cut him. So that's what communication is about. Making sure that list is correct. So when that guy walks in the office, you don't take his playbook. You give him the new iPad. So, and I think everybody gets an iPad. I don't know what the heck they do now. Technology is ridiculous. But we actually had paper.
The Surface, the Microsoft
Back in my day.
Yeah, we had actual paper. You had to rip papers out, put new papers in. Here, give me this paper. This is Tuesday's papers. Here's Wednesday's paper. Like, yeah, it was paper. Now it's just scrolling. Yeah, it's totally different now.
Short pause coming, and then we will play a variation of Ron's favorite game, What's in the Fridge. We call it roster, practice squad, or cut. That's next. Ron, I think when we played What's in the Fridge, what were the 3 options? Eat one, throw one away, save one?
Save one for later.
So this would basically be eat one. I'm going to give you 3 players. Eat one means you put them on the roster. Save them means you put them on the practice squad. Cut them means you're throwing them away. I'm going to give you 3 trios of players, and you have to sift through, make the tough decisions. I'm going to start with 3 cornerbacks. Dwight McGlothern, second-year guy, got some upside. Jeff Okudah, Reclamation Project. Tavier Thomas, who they brought in, I think, for special teams reasons. Let's start with Julia. You've got a practice squad. You've got a roster one. You've got a cut one. Tough choice.
All right. We're going to roster Jeff Okudah.
Yep. Okay.
Practice squad, Nudie, Dwight.
Okay.
And cut Tavier Thomas.
That's exactly what I had. I think you keep McGlothern around, the developmental practice squad guy. Okudah's the veteran. And Thomas, I think, maybe there's an Ambry Thomas. There's someone who can replace him on special teams. Ron, do you agree with that or would you
No,
go a
I'm
different
cutting
direction?
Okuda. I don't want anybody from Ohio State. No, yeah. Yeah, I got the same. I think, I mean, I've always liked Jeff Okuda. Like I got friends in, I mean, of course, all my family is in Detroit. Detroit hates him. But I don't know if all that was his fault. You know, like when you come in and you have immense pressure and you're not given the right tools right away, and then coach kind of like beat you down a little bit, and it's tough. And he was in a tough conference. He was dealing with some tough wide receivers. He just went through a tough time with Detroit, I'd say, and so that's why a lot of people just don't like him. But yeah, no, I have the same. I think Okuda, whether he's the 3, the 4, you know, I think he's going to be on the team. And then McGlovern, yep, I would keep him there. He's a great special teams guy. Yeah, Tavierre Thomas is just the odd man out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Vikings have 3 day 3 draft picks, rookies: Gavin Bartholomew, Kobe King, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, the defensive lineman. You got a roster 1, cut 1, practice squad 1. We'll start with Ron this time.
Well, I'm keeping Kobe King. We know that. Like, that's easy.
Okay.
Let's see. Dawkins is the question, but I'm gonna cut the other guy, the tight end.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep Ingram Dawkins as well. Or sorry, whatever. Practice squad, Ingram Dawkins, and then I'm gonna get rid of the tight end. Only reason I'm getting rid of that tight end though right now, he's questionable. So that was an easy one for me.
That's right. He did get hurt, I think, in minicamp. Yeah. So that is, we don't know. We don't know his status. Well, let's get Julia first, then I'll give you mine. What do you got, Julia?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same thing as Ron. Keep Kobe King. Tyrion, I think you got to keep the Georgia guy, right? Keep the SEC guy around, and then cut Gavin Bartholomew. I think the tight end room is like weird this year, so it's like a weird. I don't know. I feel like there's gonna. I don't know about that. I'm
lean. It's lean with no Johnny Munt. It just feels like there's a void, right?
Yeah, it's like what's happening here?
Could be more receivers.
I had them flipped. I have them rostering Ingram Dawkins, practice squad Kobe King, and then they'll roll with Asamoah and Wilson. King will be the next one in line. Last one, offensive lineman. I think this is the toughest call. So I've got Justin School, the backup tackle, Blake Brandel, and Walter Rouse. So Julia, you can start it off.
This is hard. I don't want to get rid of Walter.
You don't have to.
I think you practice squad Walter.
Okay.
Do you cut Blake Brandel and keep Justin School? Is that stupid?
You tell us. What do you think?
That's where I'm going. That's what I'm going with. I don't want to get rid of Walter Rouse.
You've gotten. I think you've got an attachment to Walter. I think you predicted in the past that he would have a big impact this year, like sneakily, and I think he had a good preseason last year. So you're going to practice squad Rouse. You're going to cut Brandel. Got replaced by Donovan, and you're going to put School. What'd you say? School makes the roster. Okay. Yeah. And he probably plays in Darasaw's place. All right, Ron, what do you think?
Yes. I'm going to keep Brandel because he's a swing guard, and you got Will Fry is questionable. I got to keep practice squad School because Christian Darrisaw is questionable. I'm getting rid of Walter Rouse because Leroy Jenkins. I'm keeping Leroy Watson. I like Leroy Watson to try to maybe get in there. Julia might be too young to remember the Leroy Jenkins thing. I don't know. Do you remember that, Sam?
Oh, yeah. Leroy Jenkins. Yep.
Do you remember that, Julia? Or are you too young?
I've heard it, but I wasn't alive.
Okay. You got to, whoa. It's not that old. I'm pretty sure it's not that old. It was like in the whatever game people play online era. You just got to watch. Just Google Leroy Jenkins, the video game thing. It's an online game. It's one of those games where people like play as a group. And the dude's name, and it wasn't his real name. Everybody found out it was some idiot kid that did it. But he's playing with a bunch of people, and then they're like literally the guy who's leading it.
2005.
You have one leader.
My bad.
Yeah. How old were you in 2005?
I turned 8 that year.
Oh wow. Okay, so you weren't allowed to look at the internet like that. But when you, but he run. You got to watch. It's funny, but the funnier is the remakes. Like people remade it with real humans in like robberies and bank robberies. Like I think Kevin Hart or somebody did one as a bank robbery with a Leroy Jenkins. But he basically says like, hey, we got to take our time, do this, and the guy just like says, screw this, Leroy, and he just takes off on the video game and starts shooting. And then the main leader guy's like, oh shoot, Leroy. And so then they all have to go and, because he's already started the fight and they're getting, and then they all die. And the guy's like, Leroy, why would you do that? Like, it's hilarious. He could not wait any longer. He just got like impatient.
It sounds like a Key and Peele sketch.
So everybody thought that it was fake. That's the first thing. Everybody thought it was like a fake skit. And then somebody came out and said, no, like that idiot really did it. But he also did it because he was annoyed at the group. So that's the backstory. I think he was annoyed. He's like, man, screw this. I'm going in here. And it's a video game. Who cares if you get killed? But, some of these guys take that stuff serious. They're like, I just lost all my points, So long story, I don't think anybody ever wants to play with Leroy Jenkins again. Like that was it. But yeah, no, Leroy Watson, hopefully we should get him this week or next week. And hopefully he doesn't get cut before we do. So I just think I like his story. Sam and the guys in the back told me about that he's a former tight end turned tackle. So, I like guys that are athletic like that can, try. So he's new to the position too. So, maybe the Vikings find something in him.
By the way, I'm keeping Brandel, and I think Brandel can play. He can swing over to left tackle. That's my plan. He'll go to left tackle if needed. Cut school.
He did play a little
squad
tackle.
routes. Squad routes. He was the tackle in the Buffalo game on the miracle catch by Jefferson. He was the one at left tackle.
He did play tackle. You're right there.
Yep. Next week, this time, we will have training camp press conferences to discuss. Can't wait. Also today, the NFL Top 100 players, not the NFL version, the Locked On Podcast Network version drops. Locked On Top 100. We'll have plenty of that to discuss as well next week and as the week goes on the Minnesota Football Party. That's Julia Daniels. Check her out, Care 11. Ron Johnson of The Ron Johnson Show and the Blake Cashman interview dropped yesterday. And I'm Sam Ekstrom. We appreciate the comments, the views, the listens, and the subscriptions. And we will talk to you next time. See ya.